There you go.
There you go.
And then we'll just do this.
Let me get that.
Yeah, now it looks cool.
All right. And we are live from both angles.
Okay, you want to get your stuff off the table?
The only thing I'm gonna leave on here is that because I'm gonna read, and I'll hide them in my little hideaway spot. Okay.
Okay, you ready?
I am ready.
All right, I'm gonna count.
Okay.
Okay, 5, 4.
You know what? I think that should have been plugged in over there.
What's that?
That's the microphone for that, and I realized I didn't do it. Unplug the mouse.
You
On
only
your
got one?
right, on your right side. And see, this is all things that I edit out. So we're live with all of this, so they get a chance to see the
Let me make
behind
sure
the
this
scenes.
live camera
that
is
was
good.
YouTube channel.
Okay,
Yes,
you're gonna have
ma'am.
to flip about YouTube.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know, let's just off because of
Live on now, but with her back, we don't want we don't want Mr. Gardner's
You know, I'm a
half
perfectionist.
side inside. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, so ready?
Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you very much, and welcome to A Mother's Letter, amplifying the community's voice. And this is held gracefully at the Incubate Neighborhood Center, where the CEO, Ms. Canaria Gardner, where I always give shouts out to because she always humbly allows us to do this here. So if you're in this neighborhood and you are, or if you're not for that matter, but you are looking for a place to be able to host your events, utilize the facility for whether it's computers, learning, please take advantage of that opportunity because she does lease the space out. So without further ado, I'm taking out my homework assignment, if you will. I have 2 women of God sitting to my left, might be your right, but I'm so honored and humbled to be able to interview them. And I should have had my glasses, which I am going to lean in real quick and get, because I want to make sure I get this right. And the reason I want to make sure I get this right, these are bios of introduction for both of these ladies. So I have to my left immediately, which is Miss Mary Sermons. She is the president and founder of Gleaning for Hidden Treasures, a hands-on ministry for hurting women by prayer, praise, and pamper. Spiritual life coach, praise counselor, and spiritual midwife. She sponsored Student Nurses for Christ since 1990, all the way through 2015. She is a state spiritual organization for nurses, anointed conference speakers since 2000, local, state, and internationally with trips to the east and west of Africa, places like Kenya. Oh boy, help me.
Bujumbura.
Oh, say that again.
Bujumbura, Burundi.
There we go. And I'm going to say Jamaica and Haiti. Those 2 I can pronounce. That said, from a spiritual aspect, she is a spirit. She's been spirit filled since 1980. She's got a diploma of theology since 1989. She's a senior minister and evangelist at Greater St. James Missionary Baptist Church since 1989 to present. She's the founder of Women's Ministry since 1998. She's accepted the office and anointing as evangelist since 2001, and she is an ordained as a reverend since 2006. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Miss Mary Sermons. And then we have, with such poise, grace, both of them, I tell you, Dr. Bunny Hill, a vessel of the Most High God that has been commissioned to teach and preach the gospel to the nations. Dr. Hill began this journey 42 years ago, wow, and has promoted through kingdoms ranked locally, statewide, and on a national level. Her mission in life is to see people possesses the gift of salvation that Christ has afforded to all that would believe. She preaches the uncompromising word of the living God. She is the founder and CEO of Inner Healing for Women Ministries Incorporated, a faith-based 501c3 organization that provides countless services to women of all walks of life. Additionally, As Dr. Hill is the founder and CEO of Dr. Bunny Hill Ministries Incorporated, which affords her the opportunity to minister at women conferences, workshops, prayer clinics, revivals, and Christian summits, as well as make available her ministry materials. She is a spiritual combatant. Did I say that right? Competent. Combatant or competent?
Combatant.
Okay, combatant of the kingdom that declares God is sovereign and will stop at nothing to see people saved, healed, delivered, and set free. I love that part. Dr. Hill represents the kingdom personally and professionally. She serves as a volunteer chaplain at St. Lucie County Hospice, Indian River and Longwood Regional Medical Centers, as well as Martin Memorial Hospital. She is a certified domestic violence facilitator and instructor of Trinity Theology Seminary of South Florida, and is engaged in many other community and Christian-based efforts. Dr. Hill is the wife to the late Deacon Clemmy Hill. Did I say that right? And a mother of 4, Nana of 11, as well as 2 great grandchildren. Wow, I am amongst greatness, ladies. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Dr. Bunny Hill. And so, with that being said, I'm just little old me. I'm just Jacqueline Coleman, the CEO and founder of A Mother's Love Foundation Incorporated. But I tell you, as you can see, this is greatness sitting here on the couch. You know, we usually do this from the couch so that it's not so formal. And what I love about being able to do this is it gives us a chance to just simply be ourselves. You know, Dr. Hill can kind of relate when it comes to podcasting. You know, a lot of times there's scripting, there are certain things that people want to say or people want you to bring up. And what we sometimes like to do is just go natural. Yeah. So, you know, I'm going to give my speech. I'm looking at all the different angles that the cameras are, casting from. And my speech is as you just saw. And we might even say things that we have no business saying. But the bottom line is we want to welcome you guys to the podcast. And without further ado, let's start with you, Miss Mary. I crossed your path probably about maybe 5-6 months ago, maybe, if not longer.
How long have Canaria been here?
Canary has been here for 18 months. I came originally in March of this year.
And we were in that room down there when we were meeting. Yes.
So it's been about 6 months then. Yeah, so good narrowing it down, if you will. And from then I've been calling you Mama Mary.
I'm okay with
yes. And what I love about her when she's in that room, it's a demand of respect, and she doesn't demand it. You just want to give that to her.
Okay.
And so I would like for you to talk with the community and let them know who is Mary Sermons.
Many of the community know me from the hospital, from Longwood Regional Medical Center, and teaching at Indian River State College in the nursing program. I love nursing. I have been a nurse and still am. I still hold my license for 54 years.
Wow.
I remember Anthony was on my lap when I walked from the health department that was on Avenue C to 7th Street. He was on my lap when I went in to interview for a nursing assistant position. And I got it, and I thank God for that. And I've always wanted to be a nurse, so they know me from nursing. They know me from the community activism that I've done recently with Survivors of Murdered Victims support group, and they know me from Greater St. James and I went there with Reverend Armstead. Those that know Reverend Armstead, and that's my love was an understanding of being a helpmate in the ministry.
Yes.
So I started with being a helpmate to Reverend Armstead and learning pulpit etiquette and learning about caring for people God's way.
Yes, I hear you say that right. And so I had to go back to your profile information that I have here. And I was born at Longwood in the 70s. And my daddy would always tell this story. Oh, you were 1 penny shy of costing $1,000. So $999.99 is what it cost that man and woman to bring me into this world. And so to know that I'm sitting amongst somebody who's been, and I think it was what I would say, it was only 1 floor at that time. Yeah. So to be here sitting on the couch with someone that can actually say that they were there that long, that, I love it. and you maintain your license. You know, when we often change paths, or if our trajectory is changed, if you will, we usually let go of the other things. And you've since held on to that. And I saw you shiver when I just said that. And so yes, because you know you can relate to that probably. And so the fact that you hold those licenses, because it takes an education, you have to renew them usually every so many years. There's continued education that you have to take, and then you have to pay the licensing fee. Because that's why I let my cosmetology go. I got tired of giving them my money. You know, I wasn't using it, so I was like, I'm not gonna keep paying the state this money. So that's why I know we usually let it go when our trajectory. I held on to it for maybe about 4 or 5 years, and I went into the manicures and pedicures portion of it. I started out in the 90s in dual enrollment in school. Teenage mom, had my first kid at 17 years old, walked across the stage in June, and I gave birth to him in July. So I was 8 months pregnant, and by the grace of Ms. Butler, and which reminds me, I might need to look her up and go by and see her from time to time.
Please do.
Because of her, I took cosmetology, and we used to do the segment where we would open up to the community to get our hours in. This is before the new Jackie came in, the spiritual journey Jackie, because back then it wasn't the spiritual journey Jackie. And I remember when we opened our doors and this lady brought a picture in of Toni Braxton and wanted me to cut it. And when I got done, she said, "This don't look like Toni Braxton." And that Jackie said, "Well, you would never look like Toni Braxton." I said, "Miss Butler, you gotta get me out of here. I can't do this." And Butler said, "No, we are not gonna let you quit this." And she saw something in me. And so what she did, because back then you had to, I don't know what magic she worked and what favor she had, but I was grateful that it was me she took under her wings. And she finagled it some form of way where I only had to do the manicure and pedicure, because see, that I knew I could soak off if you did not like, because the rest I can put your hair back on. We were out back then, you know what they were, but we weren't doing it as much, you know. And so when she said that, I just like, I can't do this, Ms. Butler. We got to fix this thing. But so to hear you say that, that was why I said all of that. So kudos to you for doing so. And then now, Miss Mary, to that, outside of nursing for 54 years. What are some of the things that you do here in the community? One of them I know, and I didn't even hear mentioned unless I didn't read it properly, but I didn't hear you mention it. But one of the things that's near and dear to my heart that you are a part of is the surviving mothers of murdered victims.
The Survivors of Murdered Victims Support Group. We were part of Parents of Murdered Children, but when my granddaughter got murdered, I was not a parent, I was a grandmother. And so when Dr. Pinky Henley and Betty Bradwell and we all sat and talked, and because we were not parents, we were grandmothers and aunts and cousins, we said, let's have a platform where whether it's friends, cousins, uncles, whatever, you are a survivor. And we chose the murdered victims, you know, rather than any other thing, because we had that in common. We had a family member that had been murdered. And so our goal is to walk with that person through the journey, judicially, as well as educating them about the judicial system and the grieving process.
And to hold you right there, when you're going through that judicial system, you have to have some tough skin, and it takes an army to rally up with you, around you. It's not an easy task. It's not for the faint-hearted. And sometimes, even though you know you're fighting for a reason, just that journey alone is tiring, and it will cause one to want to give up. So it's great to know that if you have been a victim of that, or know of someone that has been a victim of that, there is a foundation that is there that will walk that walk with you. I always say it's your journey. But with all of these resources surrounding this community, it's you don't have to travel that journey alone.
Correct. So, and we're having the National Day of Remembrance. It's September the 25th.
September 25th.
We will do a prayer vigil at the wall, and the wall is a place where names have been placed in the Dreamland Park, Martin Luther King Dreamland Park, on a wall where the wall is made up of melted down gunmetal. So there was a buyback after so many killings in 2014, 2015, and the police did a buyback. And the Lincoln Park Council of Ministers got together, and they were able to secure funds to get that sent to a smelting place. And so if you go to the Dreamland Park, Martin Luther King Dreamland Park, you'll see the wall there with names on it.
Wow. Where is it located at in the park?
It's on the corner of 25th and Citrus.
Okay.
We would love to put more names on it. We're trying to figure out how to do that. We're looking for grant money to do it. Allegheny Franciscan Ministry, I want to give them a shout out. They helped us toward the end. Pastor Kenny Mills was the instrumental in making sure that everything got done. So we want to remember. So come out, do a prayer, we'll do a release, and we'll shout the names of our loved ones that have gone on.
So that they may be gone, but they're never forgotten.
That's correct.
And it gives a somber place where you can go and sit and think about your loved one. And for those of us, my son was a victim of gun violence. I'm able, fortunately, to still touch him, but I can remember that phone call like it was yesterday. And still to this day, if that phone rings after a certain time, I panic. So I cannot imagine what a parent is going through physically. You can say you can't imagine, but I can't. I can't imagine what a parent is physically going through when you can't tangibly touch your loved one any longer. So to have a place where they do have the ability to go and sit and kind of, remind them, reflect, and carry on. That's the most, because so many are lost in vain, and so many are lost and forgotten about. So I appreciate you for that. And I heard you say the buyback was in 2015?
2014.
2014. So there was enough guns, was it, that was used?
The guns that were bought back.
Jesus. Wow.
And I would like to say here, for the people out there who may see this, please, that park is your park. Your tax dollars help to keep that park. So we need to make people committed who are over it. Make them do what they're supposed to do for the park. That's your park.
That's right. That's right. I played in that park. I remember when they used to have the parade. We would walk from Garden City all the way down towards that. And then that actually is where they would host the after festivities for the Martin Luther King parade. It's since changed from that park, and they now go to the Longwood Stadium.
Yes.
But I know my children played Pop Warner before Avenue M, really took off. So when they played Pop Warner football, whether it was tackle or flag football, that was the field that we utilized for it. So I do get excited from time to time when I see the children out. So it's come a long ways. Yeah. But like you said, we want to keep it clean, keep it up, keep it cared for. And the only way we're able to ensure that that takes place is if we keep our voices heard. So great information. So now speaking to you from a nonprofit foundation, let's move on to, I notice here you've got Habitat for Humanities. I volunteered for that over the years, about a decade now. And I enjoyed doing that. I've seen many homes in the Vero Beach area where I volunteered, took the hammer and nail, paint, the whole 9 yards. And I paid attention to what my purpose was. So to be able to see a home, built from scratch, actually pouring of the slab to holding up the first truss, and then the dedication aspect of it. So I've enjoyed that. What does that mean to you?
I worked with Habitat for Humanities for 20 years. I'm loyal to the things that God has put me in charge of. And I was on the Friends of Friend Committee, and that was selecting the families that will get a home through that process. And what it meant to me, of course, was seeing a person get into a home that otherwise they would not be able to get into. That's what it meant. And I stopped with Habitat because they were moving toward the Port St. Lucie area in 2018. And I wanted to remain in Fort Pierce, helping my community, where I live, where I worship, where I play. I wanted to make sure I was here for that.
So now maybe we can get you to tiptoe on over into what we're doing here at Incubate Neighborhood Center, because homeownership is one of our core programs that we focus on. And like you the vision behind Ms. Gardner is to ensure that everyone within our community has that opportunity, because it's no secret, there's not a lot of people that look like us that own a home. And for those of us that do own a home, sometimes, we are of age where, that circle of life is taking place. And because of that circle of life taking place, we haven't set it up to where we're thinking about, because in our culture, sometimes that's a topic that we all too forget to talk about, because we always think we have tomorrow. And as you just learned, there are cases, well, not learned, but as you just shared, there are cases, yes, please, thank you. As you just shared with us, there are cases that, you might not be able to see tomorrow. Tomorrow's not promised to everybody. And because of that, thank you. And because of that, it will place us in a position where we haven't packed properly for that trip that we're about to take.
Right.
And in my career, which I've been doing it for a little over a decade now, all too many of my transactions don't close because the title is not proper. There was no probate that was done to identify what is to take place in the event Big Mama or Big Papa passes away. And so because of that, that property sits there. And in our culture, when it sits there, we get in a stage where if it's sitting there and I can't do anything with it, I'm not going to pay the mortgage anymore. I'm not going to pay the taxes on it.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing you can't do in life. If the government calls you and you're in the military, you got to go.
Yeah.
And you can't go without paying your taxes. Maybe 1 or 2 years, but after that, it's a wrap. There's some form of a process that's going to take place to take it from you. And so I see that all too often. And so homeownership is key. Maybe we can get you to tap into some kind of way, figure out a way that we can volunteer. I know you're on board, but here I am trying to put you to work. So don't whoop me, okay? It's in my nature, all right? In fact, I'm going to now pause. You're going to get me, and we're going to go over to Dr. Hill. And not once she has introduced herself as Dr. Hill. And I don't think she realized I knows her name is Dr. Hill. But that shows you that grace and that poise. Accolades are not something that she's keen on. In fact, both of these young ladies, it's not something that they're keen on, but they're there. And since you went to school for that, it's important that I address you and such. So I appreciate you for allowing me to do that. And there are times where I just might say Miss Hill, but I also call her Woman of God. And so when I texted you this morning to remind you, by the way, everybody, I do want to share this. Tonight almost didn't transpire. So if you realize this week you didn't see me doing my broadcasting as much as I normally do. Normally I inundate you all with advertisement on our podcast, but we were actually not going to have the podcast tonight. We were going to pre-record it, which I've never done since I actually been doing it. And then we were going to allow it to air tonight at 5:30. And then I woke up this morning and every single one of our 5:30 events were wiped off our schedule, not by control. And at that moment, I said, it's already done. I'm going to be obedient because somebody needs to hear something that we're about to share. So I appreciate that. So with that being said, Dr. Hill, I've read your bio. And young lady, there are some things on here that are very important, and I hope to be both of you when I grow up. So with that being said, let's talk to the community, because in this particular segment, I'm honored. Why? The interviewer is being interviewed. So how does it feel to be on the opposite side of the couch?
Before I speak, I want to say to this woman of God, I so appreciate what you do.
Mm-hmm.
When my mother was murdered, I saw my mom almost die.
Mm-hmm.
And I could hear her screaming down the road because she had talked to him maybe 10 minutes before it happened. And just to know that support is in place, it means a lot.
Yes,
And people, everybody may not use it, but there are those that will.
Yes.
Because I know when Donna Mills lost her son, my mom was still grieving. But I said to my mom, I said, Mom, you go to Donna and minister to her, and God's going to give you the strength you need to get through our brother.
Yes.
And I watch strength come.
Hallelujah.
My God.
Hallelujah.
I've watched God take her brokenness.
Hallelujah.
My mom went from a 16 to like a 4, I believe it
We're
was.
eating.
Mm.
Because it did tore
Just,
up.
just the grief was, I just never had seen grief at that level.
Mm.
But just the fact that you all made a decision for those who want the help,
Yes.
we'll be there for them.
Yes.
I'm telling you, that's just greater than great.
Yes. Yes.
It's a God
Thank
thing.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And we need,
Thank you.
I appreciate it, and we need your help.
Yes.
Need your prayers.
Yes. Yes. It's not for the faint-hearted.
Yes.
Yes, because it's tough. I realized after my brother was murdered, because we were close, I was in shock a year before
Mm.
I could even drive down US 1 because he was out there at Hillcrest. I would have to go to Bureau on 95
Wow.
because it was like I can't pass there and leave him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
grief have
Oh.
different
Levels.
Rips.
Different
Yes.
levels. Yes.
Mm.
Yes.
And-
Yes.
And
Yes.
if you don't have anybody that have been touched by what you feel,
They won't understand.
they can't minister
Mm-mm.
to your pain.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
All right. Now don't make me
Okay.
shout.
Okay.
Yes. 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 Yes.
Yeah, and that was the thing with the inner healing,
Mm-hmm.
how it was birthed. Because I was saved, I was in the church, but I had some things going on that at that time the church didn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I look around and I'm like, I'm sure I'm not the only one
That's right.
going through these things.
That's
You
right.
know. But as time went on, the Lord helped me to understand that if I can't be touched by some things, then I can't touch anybody.
Mm.
See,
Hallelujah.
Thank you.
how
Jesus.
can you touch me in a place that you're not familiar with?
All right.
How can you reach for me
Mm-hmm.
when you don't even know how it feels to be where I am?
That's
All
right.
right.
You know, I you know, in losing my husband was devastating for me. It's God just orchestrates some of those places
Yes.
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 that you don't volunteer
Yes.
for.
Come
But you
on
be
now.
obedient.
Come on
Yeah.
Yes.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to take up time, but I tell people I've been acquainted with death from early
Yeah.
on. And so having been acquainted with death
Yeah.
through losing brother, father, mother, 2 children that I raised because my mother died in childbirth, and I raised my brothers and sisters. So when I lost Bess and Victor, it was like losing children.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I say, why, Lord? But then, of course, he says, what? Why not?
Why not?
And so inner healing is birthed out of
My pain.
Yes.
My pain.
Yes.
You two say that. And I'm the baby of 5 children. Now 4. My oldest brother was found in Taylor Creek Canal years ago. And so the things that I've gone through in my life as a child to an adult, buried my mom and my dad, did their obituaries as well as my brother. And my bestie can tell you one of the things I say out of 5 children, why me? Why me? And so I told y'all this podcast was supposed to happen tonight.
Mhm.
Listening to you 2 women, and you just said, which is you, if you notice, we said it in unison. Why not?
Mhm.
Because that's one of the things she explains to me. Why not you? And now I realize why not me. It's because it makes me relatable to those that I cross the path of. So having a foundation that focuses on crisis, you can't minister to someone if you have no clue
Right.
as to what it is that they've been through.
Right.
And oftentimes when you don't have that, there's times where we forget
Mhm.
where we came from.
Right.
So it is my duty to remain humble. So I appreciate you for touching on that. And as Dr. Hill mentioned, I thank you, Queen, for
Yes.
the services that your foundation
So
provides. So
appreciate it.
I hate that it would have to happen, but in the event it does, because no one knows the hands that we're dealt.
Right.
No
That's
one
right.
knows the hand that we're dealt. In the event that that type of situation steps on or knocks on someone's door that is or will watch this segment,
Yeah.
please know that there is a foundation
Yes.
out there, like I said, that will take that journey with
With
you.
you, yes.
And like inner healing, this is my first opportunity to say, I think that God had birthed into me the hands-on ministry for hurting women. I didn't want to preach to women. That's not what Gleaning for Hidden Treasures is all about.
Right.
It's for gleaning out of that woman, like inner healing,
Yeah.
coming out of the pain. There is purpose. So how you minister and how we minister to them. And I do, praise, prayer, and pamper. So I want to get down and do feet care, shoulder care, hands care. And along with the inner healing to get that woman, get it out.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Yes.
So putting that spotlight back on you, Dr. Hill,
Yes.
you, like I said, even in this moment, it wasn't about you. You paid homage to the person sitting to your right. And so that speaks to your character. You are always, and I haven't spent time outside of this facility, but just sitting back and I'm observing, it's always been your mission to help others. It's not about you being in the forefront, but it's about how you ensure to empower and bring others, which is what we're supposed to do, believe it or not.
Right.
I look at where we've come when it comes to ministry. The old way of doing it is it needs to be only in the pulpit. And to me, I don't believe in that because even Jesus walked the land.
Yes.
And so the fact that you are getting out and you're doing these things, it gives you the ability to touch those that are normally not in that pulpit or are, underneath that roof, if you will. But churches also, yes, it's good to go in that building so that you can take and worship together, but it doesn't have to be there 7 days a week.
Right.
So some of the work that I can see that you are doing just by communicating with you just now, it is about pulling up your sisters and your brother. There's a saying I like to say, I am my sister's keeper, I am my brother's keeper. And I can see that you walk that because you immediately turned around and made sure we recognize what Miss Sermons is doing.
Which is awesome.
Yes, ma'am. But I want you to tell us about you.
That's
Yes.
I'm a byproduct of Fort Pierce. My father was sent here to pastor when I was 6 years old. And so Fort Pierce became our home. And I've been a PK kid all my life. And there are just some things that I learned being a PK kid as well. It's things that I rebelled against because I didn't want to be the PK kid. But as time went on and as life changed for me from time to time, I can say that I'm so appreciative for the heart that God has given me for people. I spent 18 years of my life volunteering, going to all the prisons in the state of Florida. I wasn't paid to do it. I was pressed to do it.
Yes.
Wow.
And the Lord allowed me to walk in women prisons in the state of Florida and be there for them. Different settings where it was I could touch them and they could touch me.
There you go. So that tangible.
Yeah. And one time I was in Broward County Women's Prison, and they allowed us to go in their areas. And it amazed me how women can improvise and do some things that it's like, how did you do that?
Making sandwiches that you wouldn't even be able to think how you grill a cheese inside. Absolutely.
Yes. I saw all of these things. And but one of the things that was most heartbreaking is embracing women that have murdered their children, just things you couldn't imagine. And yet their hearts were still so hardened that I remember asking a lady, if you could do it over, wouldn't you do it different? She said, no. Just broken and ruined.
That's it.
On the inside. And that's where inner healing was birthed out of. Because if you don't never get to the root of my symptoms,
come on,
you can't
all you're gonna see is my symptoms.
Yes.
But if you can ever get to the root
yes.
of what causes people to react and
Yes.
respond,
Yes.
then you can help start to cut the tree down.
Come on.
And that's where it is. I reach out like I reach out. I don't just reach out, but I have family members
Mhm.
that I've had to walk through things.
Yes.
And there are things that have happened to me just for the sake for me to know how I feel.
Come on now.
Because there's some things God knows you can't touch it
Exactly.
if it don't touch you.
That's
Come
right.
on. Come on.
That's
So,
right.
I don't want to get going.
That's okay. I love it. I love it. That's what this is about.
Let me
And I
tell
love
you.
how you said you have to get to the root. Because when a weed is growing in the yard, you can pluck the top all you want.
Yeah.
Until you get down in there and get that root out of there,
Mhm.
it's gonna rebirth every single
Yes.
time.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's exactly
Yes.
what you're saying.
Yes.
So keep going. Don't
Yes.
don't again, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
And so going into the system, most people wouldn't do it, but you're going on the inside. So yet again, it's not about being in a temple.
Yeah.
You're receiving the temple, but you know that you have to get out and travel the
Yeah.
land in order to touch
Right.
those that are in need, those that have been forgotten about.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, that takes courage. And yet again, you've removed yourself because it's not about you. It is about the lives that you're trying to touch because you can touch them because
Yeah.
you've been touched.
Right.
Oh, Miss Mary, what were you going to say to
I was
that?
going to say, I have met women who
Mhm.
have come through inner healing. Women who have been out there, but you understood the being out there
Yes.
so that you could bring them to a place where that brokenness now become, on the potter's wheel.
Yeah.
When he will break down, he will, and then build it up again. Women who have had to go through the breaking.
Yes.
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 See, look, we
And
have
it's
to have
no-
tissue on this segment.
It's no well-rounded. For those that are listening, I love God and I've always loved the Lord. But there's some things that had to touch me.
Yes.
How many nights I was having a inner healing meeting with mothers sitting there, and someone comes to the church and say they're arresting your son down the street.
Ooh, Jesus.
Where I've had to tell a lady that I'm ministering to, I gotta go check on my son. Could you stand here in my place until I get back? Over the years, my son in and out of jail, ends up in prison. All of this was God's plan.
Yes. Yes.
Because at the end, he looks at 32 years. God gives him 2 years, and he's pastoring 2 churches now.
Come on now. Come on now.
But what happens is, at first, I'm looking at it as God needing to change my son. But God was using my son to teach me patience and to change me. So when I would ride up, listen, I don't even know how my son got in the prison where nothing was there but lifers.
Yes.
Everybody had 2 or 3 life sentences.
Yes.
And it was his first trip there. But God used me to break some barriers
At that place.
I wouldn't call to talk to nobody but the warden. And I got there one Saturday and they were trying to figure out who is that little lady? Because I had heard from my son. And I said to them, I called my mom, I said, something is wrong. And they need to know he has people that loves him.
Yes.
And I called, I said, listen, if nobody calls back today, we're going to be there tomorrow.
That's right.
And some kind of way, the favor of God, because the warden don't really talk to anybody. They don't walk down to where your child is. But when I got there, because everybody was like, the warden got up and walked where my son was, brought him back to his office and let him call his mama. So when I get there, the officers and everybody's like, but it wasn't up but the favor of God.
Let me tell you, favor ain't fair. Ain't meant to be fair.
Right.
I'm sorry about breaking
it. You right.
It wasn't up but the favor of God because I'm a woman of God.
Yes.
And I just don't feel like God will let me be ignorant
Yes.
of Satan's devices.
That's right.
Which turns out to be an officer for no reason.
That's right.
Had put him in the hole,
Mm-hmm.
and he got he had to go through some stuff.
Yes.
Because the main person God sent put it on his heart, the ruler of the
Which is the
facility.
water.
He got in trouble. I had people shaking my hand. Say, lady, where you come from? It ain't where I come from. It's who I serve.
Yes.
See, sometimes the enemy gets by because we refuse to fight.
That's right.
For what is right.
That's
Come
right.
on. To be present.
Yes.
That's right.
You just got to know what God has given you. And you've got to make up in your mind, if God has given me this marriage, if God has given me these children, if God has given me this ministry, if God has given me this,
Yes.
I know I have to fight.
Yes.
So I'm not going to lay down on it.
Come on.
Because somebody don't like me.
Come on.
Yes.
Come on.
I tell
Come
you,
on.
Dr. Hill,
Because when you are anointed, it is the anointing that draws attacks.
Yes.
You're going
Your
to
lightning
be
rod.
Yeah. So you accept that. I mean, I would be nervous if everybody
Too
liked
much
me.
is given, much is required. Too much is given, much is required.
Much is required.
And you know, when you say that, Dr. Hill, my son is in there 10 years. 10 years. When we first got in there, same thing. Put in a hole. And same thing. Now, I allowed the enemy to make me fretful in the beginning. Because I got this mouth on me, for those that know me, it's not afraid to be used. I'll stand up and ask the questions, but I humbled myself because I was fretful that they were going to do something to him. Because who is your mama thinking she can call up here and question me about my prison? So for a while, I sat for 2-3 days. And that night, before I did, I said, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pray about it. Because tomorrow I'm calling. And like you said, the warden got on the phone. And I talked to the warden personally. And I even said to him before I opened my mouth, this is not a question of your character. I'm not trying to tell you what to do with your facility. I respect. I am no longer in control. But sir, my son has never been to jail. And to be in prison for 10 years and I talked to him in 3 weeks. I got to speak to somebody. Do you know when he got done, he went to that hall, because I teased him when he got ready to go check for him, and you tell him if he cut up, I'm coming in there. I don't know how, but I'm coming up in there. And he laughed about it. But do you know he went down and took him some magazines and went in there and sat and talked to him for the remainder of that time, periodically for 10 or 15 minutes every single day because of his mama making that phone call. And you're 100% correct. See, the enemy had me afraid to call. But what I did was I allowed favor to be placed upon him because he knew that he came from a good place.
Yes.
He knew.
And they know. They will tell you. That's it. We deal with criminals.
That's it.
This child is not a criminal.
That's it.
Just hanging out with the wrong people.
That's it.
They even the judge said that. But it's the Bible says in Psalms 56, he says, when I cry, my enemies turn back because God is for me. And I use that scripture because I want the enemy and his aunts and whoever else to know that I know.
Yes.
God is for me.
Gotcha.
5 months ago, when the doctor looked down at me and said they weren't sure whether they could help me with when they found out I needed open heart surgery, he said, I don't know if, and I said, the nurse said, do you understand what the doctor said? And I said, yeah, he's telling me in this situation, I'm going to live or die. I said, but then I say something. I'm not going to die.
Let me tell you. The word of God said.
And when I said it, they looked amazed. I said, because if I was going to die, the Lord would have told me. Come on. Because he's my God. Yes. I'm not leaving here by surprise. It might surprise other people, but it ain't going to surprise me.
I'm scratching my head. Did you say open heart surgery 5 months ago?
Triple bypass 5 months ago.
Wow.
Yeah. I can do
but
it.
God.
But God.
I was here with my mom. I could not get up without assistance. I could not bathe myself. My granddaughters bathed me. I could not. This 5 months ago, I could not drive. I set up in a chair at my mom's house and slept for almost 3 months because I couldn't lay down to
Right.
sleep. I've been through all of that. You're a nurse, you know. But I kept fighting because if the Lord had said I was getting out of here, then I got to fight to live.
Come
That's
on.
right. That's
And
right.
everything they would say for me to do, I done that.
Mhm.
Everything, God give me direction. God give me wisdom. God show me what I need to be doing.
Mhm.
And before I knew it, I just started walking. I was taking baby steps.
But that's okay.
But
That's
I was
all it
walking.
is. One
Yeah.
step
I
at a
was-
time.
When I went back to driving, my nerves was a wreck, but I didn't stop driving.
I'm telling
I
you.
kept driving because I have an assignment on my life.
Come on,
And
preach
I'm not
now.
going to delay my
Preach.
assignment
Come on now.
because God has used something to
Mhm.
bring discipline in my life.
Yes.
God ain't fighting me. He says, Bonnie, I need to quiet you so I can talk to
To
you.
you.
Yes.
And it's some more molding in your life for my glory. So if that means I got to get on the potter's wheel
I haven't heard that one in a minute.
because I've been leaking.
Mhm.
That's why you get back on the
Mhm.
potter's wheel.
Yes.
Because your
yes.
potter's
Because you're
been
broken.
cracked.
Yes. Yes.
He can use a cracked pot.
See, you see what I
That's a
call a
message
woman of God.
that I preach
Yes.
and a new prospect. God can use a cracked pot.
Yeah.
And it helped me. For the women out there,
Yes.
there is, we not always, the people can't get where we are
No.
overnight.
No.
You can't
Right.
get saved
No.
today
No.
and get where we are. There is a process that you have to go through. But don't give up.
Right.
Stay obedient.
That's
And even where you are, you're still tested.
Yes.
You
Even
better
where you
believe
are.
Yes.
You know, because the Bible doesn't say just because you get to a certain elevation in your spiritual growth and or journey that troubles won't come knocking at your door.
no.
So you just know the faith
Yes.
you have now
Yes.
will see you through
Yeah,
it a little more
and the
easier.
trouble is the refining.
Yes.
You cannot become like Jesus
That's right.
if Jesus don't mold you and make you like him.
Yeah,
right.
that's it.
When the last time I went to the doctor, he said, "I'll see you in 6 months." He said, "You going back to preaching?" I said, "No, I've not been strong enough." And he said, "Whatever you do, give it all you have."
There you go.
He said, "Because your heart is not the problem now.
There you
Come
go.
on.
It's your lungs. You got to work it.
There you
Yes.
go.
Get up and walk."
There you go. There
So
you go.
let me tell you, God is so faithful.
Yes.
And see, this is the one thing I've learned, to allow my troubles to become my treasures.
There you
Yes.
go. There
I
you
don't
go.
I don't whine over trouble
Come on
anymore,
now.
because it really do work out
For my
for the
good.
good of them that love God.
Yes, yes,
My God, I love Jesus.
My version of that scripture is, and my cousin said, I know, Mary, you don't. It's in all things, God works.
There you go.
Yes.
Not the thing,
Yes.
but God will work the thing out for my good.
For my
There you
good.
go. There you go.
And let me tell you, this road is 5 months old. It has not been easy.
That's right. And is nobody saying
And I still sometimes have a little shortness of breath, but God's wisdom.
there you
Yes.
go.
I know how to do what I do, and when I feel I've gone too far
You
out,
know when to rest.
I know how to retrieve
Yes.
or retract.
Yes.
But my point is, inner healing is important because even since my husband died,
Mhm.
less than 3 years,
Mm.
I've had 3 major surgeries.
Mm.
I found out before open heart surgery that I was dealing with broken heart syndrome. I never heard it before.
Mhm.
I didn't know that you can be so broken in the
Mhm.
depth of somebody
Mhm.
can take your
Yeah,
life.
can.
Yes.
I've heard it.
But when I found out about it, and Pastor Jackson, Elizabeth Jackson,
Mhm.
explained it to me,
Mhm.
she said, "You're going to have to decide to live." And I want to say that to someone that's listening
Yes.
to us.
Yes.
You're going to have to decide to live.
That's right.
And I made a decision. God, I honor your decision.
Mhm.
I wish my husband was here.
Right.
But if you would have wanted me, it would have been the other way
That's
around.
right.
Mhm.
But I'm here.
Yes.
So I'm not going to live a life of existing.
Come on.
That's
I'm
right.
going to
Hey.
live a life.
That's right.
Ah,
That's why I'm here.
I'm gonna thrive and not just survive.
That's what I'm talking about.
Woo.
And I made it up in my mind. I said,
Yes.
when I get up from this, I'm going to live.
Now I'm divorced. You know, I prayed for the man so that I could preach because I thought I could preach until I was married.
I hear that.
So I prayed for the man to preach. And then when I got the divorce, of course, the enemy tells me that I can no longer preach because now I am divorced. But even in divorcing, that person is gone. You have a loss.
Yes.
For that woman out
Yes.
there who has
I've
a
heard.
loss,
Yes.
they've lost that person who is the love of your life. There is life after that person.
Yes.
The life is in Jesus.
That's
Yes.
right.
He, let me tell you, he takes good care of us, does he
Yes.
not?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, we are single women.
Yes.
God takes good care of us. The mortgage is always paid.
Yes.
That's right. That's right. That's
Lights are
right.
always
That's
paid.
right.
There can put gas in the car
That's
and go
right.
where we want to go. Dress the
I
way
was
we
gonna say,
want to
and
dress.
listen, I've been
Come
seeing you
on.
looking good too. Yes, both of you. Look at here.
So
Yes.
don't think that you have to stay. It's number one in abuse.
No.
God does not want that
That's
for
right.
you.
That's not of
Right.
God.
Right. But you got to love yourself. You know, when I started inner healing, I had a complex. I was like my mom's darkest child. I was short and I was always a little plumpy. And in my mind, I always wanted to be different
Mm-hmm.
what I was.
That's usually most
So
of
one
us.
of the things that I had to learn that I was fearfully and wonderfully made. And I would get up in the mornings and my husband would ask me, why was I quoting the same scripture? I said, because until I accept.
Here's what I found on the internet.
Oh, I told you it's live. That's okay. Cortana picked you up, or either Google picked you up, didn't it?
I said, I can accept who I am, my color of skin, my height, my weight, everything about me, until I can love what was fearfully and wonderfully made and accept the fact that I am the original.
All right.
And there's none like me.
That's right. That's right.
When I embrace that, then I can heal my nieces
Come on.
and my daughter
Yes.
and other women.
Yes.
Because I cannot encourage you to love anyone until you love yourself.
That's right. You
So,
became the beacon of
Yeah,
light for
once
them.
I embrace that and start teaching that in
Yes.
inner healing,
Yes.
stop forcing yourself to give what you don't have.
What you don't have.
Start with yourself.
Yes.
What you're speaking
Yes.
on right now is something that we as a culture, first and foremost, because it's all too many times within the home, things like that hinder us.
Yeah.
All too many times. So it's important, and I want to take what you're saying and I want to speak to those that are on their spiritual journey. You know, we walk this walk, we talk this talk, but then we're not living the way we're expecting others.
Yes.
And in the event, you know, that is someone, how on God's green earth are you going to expect someone to walk the walk that you're trying to preach to them? You first got to practice what you're preaching.
Right.
And that's exactly what you're saying. And I love to hear that statement, be the beacon of light. When you are the beacon of light, you don't have to walk around and say out loud how holy thou is, or how long you've been a Christian. That light is going to automatically exude from you because you're doing the things you're supposed to do.
And could I add to that, Miss Jackie?
Absolutely.
One of the things, because I've been doing inner healing for so long,
Yes.
and I've dealt with women from every walk of life, I can listen to a woman's conversation and know right away she have low self-esteem.
There you go.
I can walk up to her and look at her. The minute she drops her head, it says to me that there's something uncomfortable about her that she don't like about herself. Because when you become confident, you can face people. You
That's
can
right.
look. When I was raising my children, what I did not accept is you not looking
Eye
a person
contact. Yes.
in the eye.
Yes.
Because most people don't do that.
That's
And
right.
I remember one day Michael was probably about 4 or 5, and he was talking. We came out with open then, and a white gentleman walked over to me and said to me, he said, while I was talking to that kid, he looked me right in my eyes and
Come on
never
now.
turned his head. And he said to me, most black people don't do that.
That's right. That's right.
See, you got to be comfortable enough with yourself to face
That's right.
anybody
That's right.
without bowing.
Exactly.
You understand what I'm saying?
I understand, because you got to get beyond man came from a place where black people don't look me in my eye,
Right.
Right.
because see, I'm better than that, so they
Right.
have to
Look
they have to be
away.
at their
Yes.
station.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you have taught your son, his station was different than
Eye
another man's
contact.
station.
That's right.
Yeah.
Eye contact.
And,
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and because I deal with women, I little things, because I want them to hear. Anytime you hear women complaining
Mm-hmm.
about other women,
Mm-hmm.
that's because there's something in that other
That's
woman
right.
that they may desire.
That's right.
It's a lot of signs
Envious.
that
Yes.
you can pick up on
Yes.
just through a conversation.
Yes.
So that's why I encourage women, if you begin with you,
That's right.
find a comfort zone with yourself.
That's right.
Allow yourself to be alone with you.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us always have somebody with us
That's right.
because we don't want to be
Love
alone with
yourself.
us.
That's right. That's right.
So it's these kind of things that makes us healthy and makes us unafraid to face whatever we have to challenge, because every day is challenging.
That's right.
And I don't allow myself to become intimidated
That's right. Same here.
by another person's presence.
That's right.
Because I feel like this. Today, I'm not going to let you tell me how to feel.
That's right.
You can curse, you can do whatever
Right.
you. If I left home happy, I'm going back home
That's
happy.
right.
You can act the fool, but you're not going to control how I feel.
I'm working on going back home happy. Sometimes things can disturb or disrupt my peace.
Yeah.
So I'm learning to be better at that. But I've never been afraid to look anybody in their eyes. Never, no one makes me fretful when I walk in the room. I might get nervous when it's time to go on the camera, but like you said, once I'm there, I'm in my element. But my dad taught me that a long time ago. And even as a little kid, I may have shared this story already, but my parents picked fruit. That's what brought them here. So they picked fruit with Minute Maid. And there's about 20 homes on that block. My mom and dad was the only one that got off the fruit stand. And I used to be so ashamed as a little 6 to 7 year old kid when I saw that bus come around that corner, because the kids in the neighborhood would taunt me, right? And one day I was riding my bicycle, couldn't go off the block, but go up and down the sidewalk on the block. And I started, even then, the epiphany hit me where my mom and dad was the only one going to work. Everybody else, mom and dad was either mom wasn't there or daddy was under the tree drinking Coke 45. And I realized at that moment, I'm not going to be ashamed. And I had a conversation with him back then. And you know what he said to me? Don't you ever be ashamed of nothing in life. They put their pants legs on just like you, one leg at a time. And that thing stuck with me. So you're 100% correct. You can't be. Not saying that there are not things that won't make me uncomfortable, but it doesn't make me fretful.
Right.
So I'm learning to tap into the things that make me uncomfortable, because I'm learning that's a part of my spiritual growth, my spiritual journey. Because as you said a moment ago, those things that we may see in a negative light, they're really there to strengthen us. It's giving us the ability to have those teachable moments, so that when we share the couch with one another, there's relatability there between us.
And you're not, excuse me,
No,
you're
you're
not
fine.
tearing other people down.
That's right.
Because you feel uncomfortable.
That's right.
And I so dislike
Yes.
that no matter how good a person is, it's always that voice that wants to ruin
That's right.
the good.
You know what I call them? Negative.
Just for a few minutes.
All right.
Because Gleaning for hidden treasures, hands-on ministry for hurting women. Touch. And I want women to understand that sometimes your touch has been a bad touch.
Okay.
So then you don't want to be touched. So you have to come past that bad touch to a place where it's comfortable in touch.
Yeah.
As women, we need 27 meaningful touches a day.
I
When
know
we
that.
don't get those touches, sometimes women are sort of mean because they haven't been touched in a while.
Wow.
Now, some minds may go another place, but I'm
Fix it.
talking about, as Dr. Bonnie was talking, she's a toucher.
Mhm,
You know,
mhm.
she's comfortable with touch. You know, touch of affirmation,
Yes.
a touch of comfort. You know, when you're grieving,
Mhm.
a touch of validation. We need those touches, and so Jesus touched.
Mhm.
And when Jesus didn't touch himself, he allowed himself to be touched.
Right.
The woman with the issue of blood,
Right.
she knew that she had to touch
Yes.
Mhm.
to get her healing.
Yes.
And so when he went to Tabitha, he grabbed her by her hand
Yeah.
and said, "Damsel, rise."
Right.
So touch is
Mm.
very important. Scientifically, babies in the NICU, the babies that thrive
Yeah.
are the babies that were touched.
That's right.
The babies that aren't touched. That's why they have grandmothers in the NICU in the preemie unit,
Yeah.
so that those babies can understand touch.
Wow.
And as
That's
women,
good.
we need to understand touch. Men needs to be touched too. And you know, we are the neck, they are the head.
That's right.
So we got to learn how to turn head.
Yes.
Right. And it's not a sexual thing.
All right.
It is
Right.
a natural thing where touch is important in our lives.
You know, I never
Yeah,
had
that's
heard
good.
that before, but I
That's
am a
good.
hugger. So when I go in and I meet someone,
am
I'm a
too.
hugger.
Yeah.
And I know the times have changed, you know, due to the pandemic and the monkeypox that are out there. And I still lean in and I hug.
Yeah.
And so Miss Gardner, I even got her, you know, she'll come in and she's, you know, and I reach in and hug, she's like, okay. So I was like, yeah, I
Yes,
done changed
yeah.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm a hugger. Yes,
I
yes.
am. My husband used to say, "Please don't hug everybody."
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what-
yeah,
Because
yeah.
I just-
Yeah, that's who I
Yeah,
am.
oh my God, you gotta touch everybody. But some of us are just like that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
Had you heard about that before, the 27 touches per
No,
day? Yeah,
that's
so you
good.
teachable moment for me. So this
Yeah.
is my new thing I learned today.
Well, I got that through some information because I've done with like Reiki, the energy mobilization. I've done the touch of healing and the healing touch through nursing and understand the meaning, the intentional touch and the unintentional touch.
Gotcha.
Now there are some people who are having a problem with touch
Yes.
because of that unintentional touch
Yes.
that have hurt,
That's right.
and as a culture, we don't talk about some touches.
Right. Right.
Women wind up being who they are because somebody
That's
did an
the-
unintentional touch and touched them
That's
wrong.
right. That's right. Well,
It
ladies,
is-
I tell you, go ahead. Continue.
I was just gonna just add to what she's saying, because I do a lot of women counseling.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I've just heard some
Imagine.
unimaginable
Mhm.
things
Mhm.
where there are ladies that had babies for their fathers, and there wasn't street people,
My.
all that kind of stuff.
Come on
Yes.
now. Mhm.
And they get to a place, I don't care, and I've seen this a million times, I don't care how educated they are,
Come on.
they are girls on the inside.
Yes.
And they are still crying
Yes.
Mhm.
as a result of what had happened
Yes.
so many years ago. And that's when we give them Jesus.
Yes.
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 He can touch where nobody else can
That's right.
touch.
Yes.
He can give you spiritual vision.
Yes.
Mhm.
This morning in my devotion, I taught on the mirage,
Mhm.
and mirage is usually that way because of a certain atmosphere.
Mm.
It looks like something, it's not.
That's right.
Actually,
Yeah.
it's not real.
Right.
Yes.
And in Abraham taking Hagar and Ishmael out,
Mhm.
Hagar goes after mirage because
Mhm.
she wants her son to have water.
Yes.
And she gets there and it's not that. But then the Bible says, and God opened her eyes.
There we go.
My God, my God.
There we go.
And that's where we got to allow him to illuminate
Yes.
our spiritual, our insight.
Yes.
That's right.
Because Jesus taught in the book of Matthew, you can have eyes and don't see.
See. That's right.
You can have ears and don't
hear.
hear.
Yeah.
So that's when we need those spiritual experiences.
Yes.
Not hype, not emotional.
Right.
We talking about an experience.
Yeah.
Experience that only you know, nobody but God.
Yes.
Yes.
And if God can open Hagar's eyes and say what you're looking at is not real,
That's right.
it just looks real.
Mm.
Then all of us in this room
That's right.
have been in that place
That's right.
Yes.
where we thought it appeared to be
Yes.
the real thing,
But
And
it
it
was
wasn't.
but in all actuality, it wasn't.
It
not.
wasn't.
Yes.
But then God opened our eyes.
Eyes.
That's it. That's
My
it.
God.
My
Yeah.
God.
And that's so important.
Mhm. Women.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so important. And I see so many of our young women taking abuse
Mhm.
because they cannot see.
They don't know their word.
Love.
Mhm. Mhm.
Love is not what hurts you.
That's right.
Love is not what love won't cause you to go hungry.
Right.
That's right.
You know, love will look out for your
Yes.
needs.
Settle for it.
Settling.
We don't know our
Yeah.
worth.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
got to get back to
That's
knowing
the
our
word.
worth.
Yes.
Yes. We gotta
Once
know our
you
worth.
know your worth, then you allow the people around you to know your value.
That's right.
I would allow you to treat me in the place of where I value
That's
me.
right. That's
Mhm.
right.
And sometimes people mistreat it because you don't value
That's
yourself.
right. That's right.
Once you put a value on you and demand that, then that's the way it is.
I always used to teach my kids when they were growing up one of those things, you know, about knowing your worth, even not your worth, but the things within your home. If your friends and family see you mistreating your own property,
Mhm.
what do you think they're gonna do?
They're gonna do the same.
And that's what I always try to teach them. If they see you mistreating your mom or your grandmother, what do you think they're gonna do?
Right.
And so they kind of mimic. So I'm a firm believer in that, and that's something I've always tried to live my life with, remembering. There are times we fall.
Yeah.
You know, there are times we fall off. That's where you've got to acknowledge it. You have to pull that wool from your eyes, or allow it to be pulled, if you will. And then once that's done, then you're able to see. And you start paying attention and taking heed to your circle around you too.
Yeah.
Because even though you want to get out of this place of brokenness, it's hard with every person within your circle that we think is part of our village belittling you, they're behindering you, they're shushing you. That's hard to come out of that darkness.
Yeah.
I'm gonna drop a bomb here, and I know that. Call me. My number is 971-9285. Your worth cannot be Queen Bee
That's right.
and the way she lives her
That's
life.
right.
Your worth cannot be Oprah Winfrey
That's right.
and the way they live your life. Your worth cannot be what's the heavyset girl that's
Lizzo.
Lizzo.
Yes.
Your worth cannot be. I don't know the names, but that's not where your worth is and where it should be when you look at the media and wish that you had.
Yeah.
And David said that fret not yourself for evildoers.
Right.
And don't be jealous of the things that
Yeah.
other people have.
That's right.
Because what God has for you is definitely going to be for you, and He will give you more.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. Sometimes we have to go in a place of solitude. And
Yes.
the reason we need to go in that solitude is separation, number one. And that separation's purpose is to take us to that next
Yes.
level when it comes to our spiritual growth. And if we can't do that, because you mentioned something a moment ago where there's a lot of us that have to have somebody around us at all
Yes.
times. Sometimes that's not needed because you have to get in a place of silence. Someone reminded me today, my space has been taken up. It's being occupied by a lot, where I'm forgetting to do my daily things that I would normally do, which is walk on the water, meditate, do my praying. And so I realized the last couple of days, there's been a lot of chaos. And it's the reason being is because I'm occupied. I'm allowing things to take up my space. Separation is one of the best spiritual growth you can possibly have, because that's the moment that he removes things from your eyes and he speaks things in our ears, and that gives us the ability to hear. I wish I could continue on. I looked at that clock, ladies. I mean, this is how good, I told you guys, these are women of God. You hear me? It is 6:50 p.m., which means we are 20 minutes over. That's how good this has been. And so I want to close this out, but I want to allow each one of you to be able to give something to the community. And so for me, that is, separation is okay. Separation is you giving the ability for the good Lord to be able to speak to you. Change is okay. Change sometimes means your trajectory needs to go in a different direction in order so you can become closer with God. And silence is okay. Silence is required so that you are able to hear his voice when he's communicating with us, because there's a download that takes place within us. And that download can't be done if we're always actively going, earbuds in our ear, TV or music or sound. Sometimes find a quiet place on purpose and just learn to sit for 10, 15 minutes a day, every day for a little while, so that you have the ability to take that walk, to do the talk that you need with the good man above who provides your every need. I'm Jacqueline Coleman, CEO of A Mother's Love Foundation, Amplifying the Community, and I want to turn this over to Miss Mary Sermons now to do a closeout, and then we're also going to turn it over to Dr. Hill to give her.
I want to give my time to Dr. Hill.
You got it.
Oh, wow.
There you go.
I would just, Inner Healing for Women is a ministry that is designed for women, by
Yes.
women. And of course, it's been the things that I personally have suffered through that most women walk silent through.
Yes.
But we're fixable.
There you go.
That's what we all have to understand. We're fixable.
That's right.
The woman, the infirm woman, and I'm not going to preach.
That's okay.
The infirm woman, the Bible says that she could in no wise lift herself. And there are so many of us that are walking around but still cannot lift ourselves. I'm talking about inside. You see us walking in, but so many of us are bent on the inside. And here is the opportunity that God allows all of us is to be fixed.
That's right.
He says, if Jeremiah 9, I believe it is, it said the daughters are slightly healed. Slightly. We go so far, but we don't get delivered.
There you go.
We experience a God thing, but we don't get fully delivered. And Jeremiah also says, is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physicians there? Then why then are the daughters still broken? There's no reason for it, because Jesus has come on the scene. And he says in Luke 4, I come to set the captives free. My God. I'm feeling my preach coming.
I love it. I love it.
And just to get this one, the divine connections.
Yes.
Be divinely connected
There you go.
to God, to yourself, and to other women.
Yes.
That's right.
Who can help you with
Yes.
That's
that
right.
healing process.
Yes.
That's
And that's what he came in Luke for, to heal the brokenhearted.
Yes.
I don't have to stay broken. I don't care what your condition is. You don't have to remain in that place.
That's right.
But you gotta love you enough to take the steps you need to take.
That's right.
All of us don't need to be healed from the same thing.
That's right. My story is my story.
Yes.
Your story is yours. I couldn't walk a mile in your shoes. You can walk a mile in mine. That's why he gives us different sizes and different shoes.
Yes, and this is why we come honestly and boldly, as the scripture says, come boldly before the throne
Yes.
of grace of God, and there we find help in
it.
the time of need. So we say to our audience tonight, whatever challenges you, you can challenge it. You can handle it.
And that said, this has been one of the most powerful sessions that I've done. in referencing to journey in life, I appreciate you for accepting the assignment. You didn't know me from a can of paint, prior to last month, and you walked in not by accident. It was all ordained, and you accepted the challenge, and I appreciate it. I thank you. I've known you for about 6 months, where I see you periodically, and we attempted this before, but it was no accident that it wasn't then. It was supposed to be tonight. So, ladies, I so
Thank
much.
you.
I have a lot of
us
respect
being
for
here.
you, and I do want to
Yes.
be just like you when I grow up. Ladies and gentlemen, good night, and thank you so much. From the couch here at Incubate Neighborhood Center, A Mother's Love, Amplifying the Communities podcast. God bless. Have a great night.
And I want to say this is an awesome woman.
Yes. Oh,
I
before we
love
leave,
her.
do you have an event that's taking place
Oh, yes,
tomorrow?
please. Drive through prayer if it does not rain. So come by Greater St. James Missionary Baptist Church. Drive up. I'll come up and pray for you and drive off.
It can't get no better than that.
And women's ministry October 14th and 15th at Greater St. James. We'll do our women's conference there, Restoring the Broken Heart.
There you go.
Amen.
God bless everybody. Have a great night. Be safe.
Oh, wow.
Oh, it's so good.